All 11 states fighting for their unemployment benefits with their lawsuits. Pretty exciting today, huh? Learn all about these updates in today's video. But first, I just want to say welcome back to all my subscribers. Hope you guys are doing okay out there. We cover all things personal finance, investing, cryptocurrencies, stock market updates, and of course, stimulus check updates and stimulus package updates. So if you have not already, be sure to join the family and hit the subscribe button and tap that notification bell. That way you're notified as soon as I release new videos and updates. And as usual, a really big thanks to all you guys for always lighting up that like button and making my day. You guys really make it worth it for me. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Hold on to your seats, guys, as Senator Marco Rubio has stated how the child tax credits with the $250 to $300 monthly payments is Biden's first step toward a universal basic income, aka monthly stimulus checks. In an opinion piece on the Wall Street Journal, Rubio said the administration's new child allowance is wealth redistribution, the first step toward a universal basic income, because it includes no work requirement. Full disclosure, guys, Rubio was saying these things to criticize the child tax credit expansion, but I don't know. It sounds to me like he's proving the point for more stimulus. Now here's Biden talking about the child tax credit monthly payments.
Nearly all working families, that is people making under $150,000 as families or an individual making under $120,000, $25,000, who have children or raising children in America, they're going to receive their first monthly tax cut payment. That payment from the expanded child tax credit is we signed into law as part of our American Rescue Plan. It's one of the largest ever single tax cuts for families with children. And it's a reflection of our belief that the people of this country who need a tax cut aren't the folks at the top. They've got plenty of tax cuts. They're doing just fine. But it's the people in the middle, the folks who are struggling. We're just looking for a little bit of, my dad would say, a little bit of breathing room. This has the potential to reduce child poverty in the same way that the Social Security reduced poverty for the elderly. The benefits will be felt for years. Studies have shown that tax relief that helps children, that's okay, don't worry about it. It's okay to let them cry, or her, whichever. That helps children and can lead to better health, better school performance, and better future earnings. We shouldn't let taxes go up on working families. We shouldn't let child poverty continue to stain the conscience or drag down our economy. And so I say to my colleagues in Congress, this tax cut for working families is something we should extend, not end.
I especially like what he said about that little bit of breathing room, because that's what we're all looking for here, right? A little bit of breathing room just so that we wouldn't have to worry about the bills or the rent or even food for the day. Is that really too much to ask? Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. Let me know if I'm making sense here. Now, if it does continue to a more expanded guaranteed income program, then that'll mean we'll get those recurring stimulus checks when we need it. That's actually what the large group Mayors for Guaranteed Income are saying about the CTC. In pilot programs across the country, dozens of cities and counties and the state of California are giving low-income residents a guaranteed income of $500 to $1,000 each month to do as they please, and are tracking what happens. And what they're hoping to do here is use the data to lobby the White House and Congress for federal guaranteed income, or for starters, to make the new $300 per month child tax credit that's set to expire after this year permanent. But here's former Stockton Mayor and GI pioneer Michael Tubbs.
First, let me just say, it is a huge deal. It is literally a guaranteed income for families. 90% of families were receiving checks every month, and the fight now is to make that permanent. And it's a big deal because we know people are struggling. We know that childcare is expensive. We know that people are working themselves to death, that people aren't able to afford housing, that people aren't able to pay off debts. We know that people just need an income floor. And this is a huge first step to unlocking the potential, the productivity of the American people, and the idea that we could cut child poverty in half. I think the corollary is, why would anyone be opposed to ending child poverty? Why would anyone be opposed to folks eating? Why would anyone be opposed to increased consumer spending? So it's a huge deal, but it's temporary. And now the fight is to make that permanent, make it so that if you have a child in America, you're given the income floor you need to be good parents and to show up for your kids in the ways that they need you to show up.
It was Tubbs' pilot program of guaranteed income in Stockton that influenced the renewed push for monthly stimulus checks. Their pioneered program in 2018, the Stockton Economic and Power Demonstration, also known as the SEED program, it provided 125 randomly selected residents monthly stipends of $500. $500 a month doesn't sound too bad, does it? 2 years later, the data speaks for itself. When stipends were first granted, 29% of participants were full-time employees. A year later, 40% of participants had full-time jobs. Basically, the guaranteed income group found full-time employment at twice the rate as control groups. What happened was the $500 removed material barriers that helped participants apply for jobs and take time to attend interviews. Makes sense, right? They also called it a financial that improved participants' health. Results show that depression and anxiety levels were lower among the group. This had the double effect of lowering their stress and giving them time to set goals and perform better when seeking full-time employment. Definitely helpful to give people that breathing room, as Biden said. What do you guys think? Mayors for a Guaranteed Income started with 11 founding mayors and now has more than 50 mayors. More than 24 pilot programs have been approved. And just to show you guys how big this has gotten, here's a quick list of all the programs that we found. You got Stockton, California as the OG, sitting at $500 monthly payments. Compton, California, $300 to $600. Oakland, California, $500. Los Angeles, California, sitting at $1,000 monthly. Wow, $1,000 a month. Marin County, California, $1,000 a month also. Atlanta, Georgia, between $200 and $800. Chicago, Illinois, $500. Gary, Indiana, $500. Chelsea, Massachusetts, $200 to $400. Cambridge, Massachusetts, $500. St. Paul, Minnesota, $500. Jackson, Mississippi, $1,000. Patterson, New Jersey, $400. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, $500. And Richmond, Virginia, $500. There you go, guys. And that's not even the full list of new cities, counties, and even states that are announcing their plans of a guaranteed income by the week. Just raise your hand or comment down below if you're from any of the places that I just mentioned. Anybody here got into the guaranteed income program? Let me know what it's like. Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Now, you can definitely expect more local stimulus programs like this as state, local, and tribal governments are actively still working out with what to do with their part of the $350 billion stimulus that we got from the last stimulus package. Now, here's one from the city of Massachusetts. So it says here, Worcester is holding public meetings that will help decide how the city uses the $200 million in stimulus funds. Ideas for the funding won't be finalized until the city conducts 3 community meetings. So I highly recommend participating in these kinds of meetings if you guys want to stand up for your piece of the local stimulus pie in your area. Just know that the U.S. Department of Treasury has released very flexible guidelines on how to use the money for stimulus payments for residents. Now, one example of these spending rules says that the states and local governments can use their federal relief money for up to $25,000 in hazard pay for essential workers. Now, that includes industries like healthcare, public health and safety, childcare, education, sanitation, transportation, and food production, as well as services. There's also a special priority given to lower income essential workers, including nursing home staff and home care workers, workers at farms, food production facilities, grocery stores and restaurants, truck drivers, transit staff, and warehouse workers and childcare workers. Now, we've already seen examples of these in states using federal relief funds to give frontline workers another stimulus check. Georgia, for one, opted to give a $1,000 bonus to teachers, aides, bus drivers, and other staff members working in K-12 facilities. In Oregon last year, about 70,000 people lost their jobs because they received $500 stimulus checks. According to an analyst by the Associated Press, about 1/3 of the United States have chosen to use federal relief funds to provide bonus pay to essential workers. To find out whether you may be eligible for a bonus payment, check your state or city's COVID resources online. If you work for state or local government, you may receive any applicable bonus automatically. Now, for the bigger countrywide scale, we go to Representative Ilhan Omar's guaranteed income bill that would actually give monthly stimulus checks of $1,200 for adults and $600 for children. Now, Representative Ilhan Omar's official statement about the bill says, "For far too long, we have prioritized endless growth while millions are homeless, hungry, or without healthcare. These inequalities, we as a nation have the ability to make sure everyone has their basic needs like food, housing, and healthcare met." I think the American people are starting to realize just exactly how much the government can actually shell out and guarantee its people a fair shot at a good life. And we know the data is proving us right here. More on this soon, guys. Look forward to our next news updates coming to you daily. More stimulus news, this time on the unemployment lawsuits fighting to get your early canceled unemployment benefits back. Missouri just became the latest state suing their governor for ending federal unemployment programs early. Now, that officially makes 11 lawsuits out of 26 states who ended unemployment early. Already, that's about half already. We're going to need a map to track these. So here, take a look. Quick rundown of states and the state of their unemployment lawsuit. For the successful lawsuits, we've got Oklahoma, Arkansas, Indiana, and Maryland. Now, ongoing, we've got Texas, Missouri, Tennessee, Florida. But the rejected lawsuits, or at least as far as I know, some of these states are actually still fighting for an appeal. We've got Louisiana, Ohio, West Virginia. Now, again, that makes 11 states out of the 26 states that are fighting for their unemployment benefits. We're probably going to see more of these updates come to us by the week. Make sure you guys catch all of our future updates, all right? The governors of these states were arguing that their unemployment benefits were keeping people from wanting to find a job. Well, here's the data that's plainly saying that that's not true.
So yeah, the study looks at the first 12 states that opted out of the program. This is the states that opted out on June 12th and June 19th. And the expiration there didn't really translate into job gains. Unfortunately, it did translate into an increase in financial hardship. So the study looks at the employment to population ratio, or the number of people that are employed against the working age population. And in some of the states, not only that ratio didn't increase, but it actually decreased. While compared to the states that stayed in the program, the employment to population ratio there actually increased. And going back to that argument that canceling the employment benefits will lead people back to their jobs or finding new ones, so far what we're seeing is that this is not the case. Of course, it's important to say that this is really early evidence. This is the first 2 to 3 weeks, even though the announcements were actually made in May. When it comes to financial hardship, a greater number of people are saying that they find it very difficult or somewhat difficult to cover their expenses in those 12 states. While in the rest of the countries where the employment benefits continue to be distributed, that number is much lower and people are experiencing less financial difficulty.
In fact, some economists are saying that the federal unemployment benefits should be extended even beyond the random Labor Day expiration date, and that Congress should do a more well thought out expiration by phases based on actual numbers like unemployment figures. For starters, people are comparing this early expiration to the mega extended unemployment during the 2008 Great Depression, when they ended 5 years after with just over 1 million people left on unemployment, more than 5 times less than the 7.5 million people that are still in danger of their unemployment cliff this time around. Now, counting this whole time, that's 53 weeks on top of the 26 weeks that workers get in most states. I mean, it really doesn't make sense to end it early if you look at it that way. In fact, data showed unemployment benefits during the helped workers more than the Great Recession. According to a new study by the Federal Reserve Board, more than half, 52% of unemployment insurance recipients whose 2020 earnings dropped by 10% or more received benefits that met or exceeded the amount their earnings decreased. In 2009, only 19% of benefits recipients were made whole. Additionally, this time around, millions of workers who don't usually qualify for unemployment, including contractors and freelancers, got access to benefits which wasn't the case in 2009. Those hit hardest also received better support during. Now you guys know what I'm talking about here. While workers in the bottom 20% were most likely to experience large income drops they were also the most likely to have their lost earnings entirely replaced. More than 85% of workers in the lowest earning quintile were made whole, translating into $5,650 of benefits. So what do you think, guys? Is extending unemployment? I hope you guys appreciated all the stimulus goodness today, and as always, thank you guys so much for liking the video. Definitely subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. That way you're notified as soon as I release new videos and content, and I'll see you guys on the next news update.